Welcome along, here we are at the Polish War Memorial for the start of another West London VR race 3.10, Series 3, race number 10. We're getting in the end, there's only 13 in the series. Pulling away from the Polish War Memorial, we just pull out onto the main road. Now this is where it's all going to start. It's largely, there's some small undulations, but it's largely going to be all about a climb of about a kilometre, perhaps 2 kilometres out from the finish. And that climb will be, I think, quite critical. Then you've got a flat to the finish, but there is a 90-degree bend about 400 metres from the finish. So quite a technical finish, and it's all going to be about the finish. So this is just to get the legs going. The flat bit at the beginning. We're going to go through Ruislip here, where we are going up from the Polish War Memorial towards Ruislip. This is actually South Ruislip, which will go through Ruislip Gardens and then Ruislip itself. All fairly flat. There's a little bit of a hill over Ruislip High Street, which we'll see in a moment. And I suppose in real life there's a gentle drag up this road, but I don't think anybody in the peloton is actually going to notice this during the RGT race. So we'll treat it as faux flat, if that's acceptable to everybody. Nice sunny day when we went out to do it, and hopefully it's not too sunny on the day you actually get to race it, otherwise you'll be sweltering on your static bike. Make sure your fan's going, that's the important thing. It makes a hell of a difference, as you probably already all know. So I did rather get the bad luck with the traffic lights this particular morning when I was filming this, and you'll see a few of those little flashes where we have to edit out several minutes of the traffic lights. I don't know why Lady Luck was picking on me. I mean, this is a road where I probably expect to get through all the traffic lights, and I think I got through virtually none, maybe one. But for all the modern technology that we have, and traffic lights, well, they're not that modern, are they? But we actually have along here a little bit later one of those good old-fashioned blokes with the sign telling you can stop or go at one set of roadworks, and that really was a throwback to the past. There's a guy at each end of it, and I'm wondering just how much in labour costs it costs to have two blokes with a little lollipop stick telling you can stop or go, compared to actually having some electric traffic lights. Anyway, we're not here to summarise the economics of roadworks and construction. We're here to have a look at Westerly VR Race 3.10. We're going past Northolt Airport, and you'll see there is a little bit of a rise here. Again, I don't think the peloton's really going to notice this. If you're in the peloton, you'll get swept along. But you can see we're just coming up here to RAF Northolt's entrance. And if you were able to look through the hedge there, you'd probably see a plastic, I think it's a Spitfire or Hurricane, I can't remember which way around it is, but certainly this was an old fighter pilot base during World War II. And the reason the race is called Aces High is aces are what fighter pilots are always called. And we are going to finish up at another aerodrome, not actually an RAF one, but it's an airport to airport ride, this one. We're going to end up at Denham Aerodrome, so look forward to that. There's nothing there that would scare the Luftwaffe off. It's all little private small planes with a grass runway, but it's very nice, and it has a cafe there, so we cyclists like a cup of coffee and a cake on our rides, so it is a place that we occasionally finish a ride, as we'll see the cafe when we get to the end of the ride. We're now just passing under the railway line at Ruislip Gardens, so that's we're on the second of the Ruislips we're going to go through here, and as I say, this is Ruislip Gardens, a pub on the left there, which I once used as an HQ for an Audax ride I organised. Not much of interest along here, unless you're from the UK. If you've ever watched the comedy series The In-Betweeners, it's actually just at this right hand turn here where you see the red car on our right just coming out. That but 200 metres along there is the school. There's the guy with the little sign telling us we can go. All the modern technology you like, eh? Look at that. Making some nice new pavements for the residents of Ruislip here. I don't think there was anything wrong with the old ones. There's the other guy at the other end with telling them they've got to stop with his little lollipop stick. And as I say, they're making the pavements nice at no doubt extortionate cost to the local taxpayers, but there we are. So as I say, there is a very, very small incline along this road, and I just don't think it's going to show up on an RGT race. So if it does look to you like it's inclining, I wouldn't read very much into this vis-a-vis real life versus an RGT race. In real life, you can still get quite fast along here, even with the gradient. So we'll ignore that. It's nice suburban London on a sunny day. What more could you want? The smell of barbecues will be wafting across this road later in the day, I'm sure. This was filmed about 9 o'clock in the morning, and as you go past another cyclist on his way out, no doubt into the countryside like us. Although we're not venturing too far out today. Around about 16 kilometres. All our races basically model themselves on a 10-mile circuit, and this will come out somewhere between 15 and 17 kilometres. So just think 16 kilometres for each race, and you won't be far off. And as I say, this one will be all about firstly getting up that hill with about 2k to go, then the 1k sprint, of which there is a tight left-hand bend with about 400 metres to go. And I think positioning and how you deal with that bend are going to be very decisive in the finish. So I mean, I don't really understand how you position yourself to make the most of those bends, but the top racers do. And as I say, look and learn. Maybe listen to what I have to say. But there is a thing about positioning on these tight bends, and it can make a difference to how you get out of the bend and then do that last 400 metres. So all to play for. Lots of excitement to be had. Here's another little rise. This is just a railway bridge, which will drop down, and then we'll hit Ruislip High Street. So we're in the third of the Ruislips now. We've done South Ruislip, Ruislip Gardens, and now into Ruislip itself. And you can see the little sign there on the left telling you you're in Ruislip. So this little bridge, again, I don't think it will look too daunting on the RGT course. You'll probably blip over it. But of course, we do drop down the other side, and then again, I did mention there is a very slight hill. And there are some undulations between here and the end, largely around this little section in Ruislip. You can see across the traffic lights there the road rising up through the high street, which is where we're going to go. Getting across the traffic lights. Nicely, the bus pulls out just in front of us, so you can block your view of the... I'm not suggesting for a moment that Ruislip High Street is a tourist attraction, but the back of a bus is not what anybody pays to see. Certainly advertisers pay to have their adverts on the back of a bus. And despite the fact that scooters are, I read in the paper the other day, not allowed on our roads, scooter riders, electric scooter riders do insist on riding on our roads without lights, helmets and other things, but never mind that. Right, around the bus and down the other side of the hill in Ruislip High Street, past the cycling shop, the Specialised shop, which is on our right, and then into Ducks Hill Road. Now, if you ever, a lot of West Londoners will ride out of London and come through Ruislip, particularly near the Polish War Memorial, they probably wouldn't pick this road as a first choice. There's a back way to get to where we're going. But we're going to go into Ducks Hill Road, which I think most people will know. And it's always one of those where your legs feel Ducks Hill Road when you're going up it, because it's the first climb of the day and you haven't quite loosened up. Luckily for you guys, I curtailed that and I didn't take the route all the way up Ducks Hill Road, so you're not going to get there. We're only going to go a short distance along here before the real climb kicks in. You'll be relieved to hear, but there is a little bit of a ramp just to get into the turn-off we're going to use. So we are past Ruislip's old barn, which is, I suppose, something that's just left over from the days when this would have been farmland, before London just spread out and took it all over. It's still standing, very nice, and they have lots of little quaint fairs and sales and things like that. Past the place where I got my COVID jabs, and this is the little incline I was on about. Again, I think a large peloton's going to get you up this without you noticing. You can see the top of where you can see this incline is where we're going to turn left. so there's not a lot of it, and as I say, in a large peloton I think you just get swept up this without too much difficulty. So here comes the left turn, not quite there then, sorry, the second one. I do beg your pardon, I should know this better, I live around here. Here we are, this is the one, sorry, Ladygate Lane, so we go left here, and as I say, there's a little bit of lump at the top, but again, I mean, I think this is not going to notice in a large peloton, but it does mean, of course, that we get down to drop down the other side, and it's going to be reasonably flat for a while now. You're not really going to see anything too daunting until we get to that last kilometre, as I said before. We're now right on the periphery of Ruislip, the last of the houses, so the trees ahead is probably a bit of a, perhaps not those trees actually, but the next batch of trees after that is probably where we get to the end of civilization, and we're going to sort of go out into more country lane style terrain. But like I said, in terms of doing this on RGT, this is going to look and feel dead flat mainly. So it's just a case of making sure you stay in the peloton at this point, I think. As I say, there'll be one or two people who will have been dropped out with those undulations, like the hill over Ruislip High Street. Not many, I don't think, because the size of the peloton will make it easy to stay with the group in this particular race. It's only this last climb that I think is going to be of any significance, and even then it's not particularly steep, and we never have steep hills. It's just it's more than a ramp, I suppose, is the answer. And if you're all going for the finishing line and somebody wants to attack on that hill, then I think it could fragment a little bit. And of course, if it fragments by the top of that hill, given that you've got a flat going in, I think anybody that's slow up the hill probably won't catch the peloton. So that's why I think the hill will be decisive. I think it's not tough enough that people will get completely adrift, but I don't think there'll be the time from the top of the hill to the finish to make up any lost places. So again, this is what I call the start of the country. Houses on the left, fields on the right. We're at the edge of London. We've been down here before on quite a few RGT rides. This is because these are the few roads that we use as an escape bolt hole out of London, and they're fairly standard, well-used roads. You see plenty of other cyclists using the same set of roads to get ourselves out of the urban and suburban sprawl that is London and into the fresh, green and clean country air of Buckinghamshire, Hertfordshire, Berkshire, Oxfordshire, and quite a few others. Surrey, I suppose. Anyway, we're going to turn left here, and from now on in you're going to see lots and lots of roadworks. We've got a bit of luck here with the traffic lights. No, we'd have to stop on one of these, but there's quite a few traffic light sets coming up, because all around this area they're building HS2. If you're not from Britain, you might not know what HS2 is, and even if you're from other parts of Britain, it might be insignificant to you. HS2 is high speed 2. It is in fact a fast railway line that they're building between London and Birmingham, and will eventually go to Manchester. There's already a railway line that they're building alongside it. I mean, I always assumed that they would build it on the existing tracks, but they're not. They're building a new one. And in fact, in this area, a lot of it is going to be in a tunnel underground. So a lot of the works you're going to see in this ride are, in fact, probably digging sites where they're digging the tunnels for the underground, well, what will be an underground railway. I think it comes out not too far from here, and there has been some outcry because of the loss of some sporting facilities, not least a lake that triathletes used, and I'm sure there'll be some triathletes watching this. So one of the favourite triathlon sort of centres was along, we're going to go past it in a minute, and the lake's going to have to make way for this railway. So you can see this is our first little interaction with the HS2 works. You'll see it's highly fenced because there's lots of environmentalist protesters who want to get in there and cause trouble. They have a lot of security guards. I'm not sure how. I mean, it's quite interesting that in this part near London, all the protesters look like those perennial protesters who spend 365 days a year camped outside something, protesting about something. When you go into Buckinghamshire, it's more that sort of middle class, lots of signs saying we don't want this wrecking our countryside type protests. But protests there are, one way or another, either environmentalists or people who just don't want it on their doorstep. So it will get built. I suspect it's all in vain, but there we are. We're going to interact with it a few times, and I think they're so into there's so much of it being built now that it's probably an irreversible project. Anyway, we're going to effectively there is a little bit of a climb coming up. I'm intrigued to see how this one plays out, because there's a very short, sharp bit at the end that when you're soloing in real life up here, and I'll explain where it is in a moment, can actually the gradient can just go up enough to sort of kind of take a little bit of momentum out of your ride, so you can get out of the saddle for a few meters. I'm not so sure that the reality of how hard that is when you're just riding solo out here on a Saturday or Sunday morning, for example. I'm not sure that will play itself out in quite the same way on RGT again, and I'm going to say this because the size of the peloton is going to be a factor in deciding whether or not you get swept up it or not, and you won't be doing it solo. So it's just coming up here. We're going to come to a roundabout and turn right, and immediately after that roundabout is the sharp bit of climb. Now, in fact, this roundabout was in a recent race in Series 3, where we came up that road with the buses on the left and went round this roundabout and back down it, and a lady there who didn't look and cut across the roundabout in front of me drives on. So this is the short, sharp, steep bit. You can see it's not very far. I mean, we're just going to get to the top of it. It's just past where that blue car is now. As I say, in real life, that is a little bit out the saddle riding at times. If you're on your own, I'm just not sure how it will feel on RGT. I think you'll notice it, but I just don't think it'll be long enough for somebody to have an attack. But I could be wrong, so just bear that one in mind. There is an attack point there. I certainly think you could probably split the peloton. I don't think anybody solo would get away. Now, this road again has undulations. My feeling is that they won't be good attack points, because when you ride this in real life, as you'll see in a moment, and it's almost like a big dipper. You go down and up again, and it's never difficult getting up the other side of these things because you go so fast down the slope beforehand. So I suspect that replicates itself on RGT, and none of the climbs along this bit will offer any difficulties to anybody, because I just think you'll have so much momentum from the little dips that precede them. And you'll start to see this in a minute. You can see the first one now. You can see where the dip ends just about now, and we go up, but it's never going to slow me down because I've got so much momentum from the first little run down. And you'll see the second dip coming up just over the crest of this, and again, it never offers a problem. You can see now ahead of us where it goes up the other side, but we are going down. I mean, it looks flat, perhaps in the camera here, but in fact we've got so much momentum that we'll just get over the top of the next crest very, very easily, and you'll notice there's pretty much no slowing down until perhaps the last few meters, and even then it's not exactly grinding to a halt as we go for the next dip. And the same thing will happen. So don't, if you are planning the route and you're looking at the profiles, just forget these three, because I don't think they're going to offer any good attack points. And I think if you're on the back of the peloton, be aware just in case you do it slower than anybody else. But I think it shouldn't be a problem as long as your wits are about you and you make sure that you pedal up the things at the appropriate level of power and speed. Okay, so this is the last of the dips. Then we've got a long descent and a gradual climb into South Harefield. Flat, then all the way to the bottom of the what I think is going to be the critical climb with about 1 kilometre to go. So we're now heading towards South Harefield as we go through yet another bit of HS2 works, and again you can see how much security fencing there is around that. I mean, there's always security guards, and in fact just around the corner from here I'll show you where it is in a second. There was a permanent camp of, as I say, what I tend to sort of slightly view as professional protesters who seem to be able to spend all week camped outside protesting without ever going to work or anything. So I'm never quite sure how they fund themselves, but just along here, as I say, on the left, there was a camp where they basically lived full time in protest at the building of this. They seem to be moved on, and these fences on the left put up, so I'm not sure what that entailed. I often wonder if the security guards and the people protesting all get to know each other, because they all have to sort of stare at each other all day and end up having cups of tea when they're not chanting and waving placards for the TV cameras. Anyway, they seem to have been moved on, and that bit seems to be fenced off. Now, just on the left here, that's where the big. I've never been there, so I don't know how big it was, but it's the triathlete swimming area. And so you used to get the triathletes. A lot of triathlons start at that point, and they would come out of the gate and do the little cycle ride bit, and presumably the running back to there. I don't know. I've certainly seen them all pouring out of there one by one. Doing their cycling bit and coming up this hill, which is quite interesting, because I mean, whilst I might be absolutely useless in swimming, of course it must be quite demoralising when you come along on your Sunday ride and overtake them when they're giving it their all on the bike. But as I say, I'm sure anybody I overtook on this little slight rise who was doing a triathlon could probably make me look absolutely silly in a swimming pool. So there we are, that's about it for the climbing. We're going to go into South Harefield now, do a left, take us down to Denham Green, just a bit of jiggery pokery along the main road, and then we're going to hit that hill and work our way up to Denham Aerodrome, Aces High, race 3.10. I think it's a number of undulations here. I mean, I don't think the ones we've been over so far, maybe that steep one with the roundabout where the lady pulled out, might just be enough if somebody attacks hard enough. But what those undulations will do, they will drop ones and twos off the back of the group, so the group will thin out, but not at a huge degree, I believe. I think that's the only chance of that is on this last climb. And the other thing is, if you're all pre-warned and you all know the last climb's going to be tough and you're all saving yourselves for it, it might be more competitive than I give you all credit for. So there we are. See, this is the benefit of watching these previews. You know what's coming. So I think there is a little bit more of an incline here, actually, if I remember rightly. But again, you won't notice on RGT because it's probably 1% or less, as you can see from the visual picture. But certainly when we get over the perceived crest here, we should be sinking down into South Harefield. Not that there's anything to look forward to in South Harefield, a mini roundabout. And as we turn left, we go over the canal bridges there. The canal ride's actually along there. If you get your mountain bike out or your gravel bike, the towpath along the canal is not bad from here. I mean, I've certainly trying to think now. I've kind of been round it and all the way into London in one direction. I think I've been up past Watford in the northerly direction on it. But yeah, it's a gravel bike, fat bike or mountain bike. It's a nice little ride along the canal. I'll show you where that is in a minute. As we get into South Harefield and the set of shops we've got here and the left turn that we're going to do. Nice downhill. You'd be glad that we're not going straight on because that goes straight up a steep hill. So here we are. This is probably the last of the downs. It's short and it's just really I suppose where that van is, the white van ahead now, is probably about where we start levelling out. In real life, for reasons I've never quite worked out, this always seems to be a very fast road when you're cycling down it, and it's flat and that's fine, but I'm never quite sure why it always you can get such good speed along here. I don't know if it's because it's the trees keep you sheltered from the wind or something. I just don't know. But it always seems to me to be a bit of road that in either direction you can get a bit of speed up and whatnot. So that's the first of the bridges. I think that's possibly the canal one, actually. Sorry, I missed that. Horse and Groom. Yeah, that bridge there is where the canal is. So if you drop down there, I think you, as I say, you can follow the Grand Union Canal all the way to London, or if you're more adventurous, I believe it all goes all the way to Birmingham as well in the Midlands. So, and I'm sure that's pretty picturesque along the way as well. Now, this has been a set of HS2 works that has been holding us up for months, and for the first time in months, it was actually, the lights were switched off and we could ride straight the way through. But as I say, that's the last of the HS2 railway works, so we're now all clear and free to go towards Denham and look forward to the climb up to the aerodrome. Aces High, race 3.10. This is the preview, West London VR. Don't forget, you can check out all the previews on www.westlondoncycling.com. That's our website. This is where all these things live these days. Everything you want to know about Westerly VR, all the standings. It's West London VR is now run on this particular website. We've moved over, and it's got all the standings. All the people who are in the Hall of Fame, and all the people who've done the 21. If you've done 21 rides, you can go in the 21 Done Club, and that will earn you some little badges that we'll send to you if you ask for them and give us your address. And all the lists of everybody who's achieved that are on www.westlondoncycling.com, the new home of all of this. So, and there's plenty more on there. If you live locally, there's some local resources for outdoor cycling that you can get into and use, and it's all free of charge. If you do want to access all the resources, you do need to sign up. But if you just want to access the West London VR stuff, then that's fine. You don't need to sign up for that. Right, so here we are at Denham Green. There's a little cafe on our left which seems to attract cyclists. I haven't been in there, but I know cyclists do meet there for a ride out on a weekend. Never mind. Here's the old railway. The one that the new one that's being dug up is going to replicate, so they'll both go along the same route. The one above us on this bridge, of course, will have plenty of little stops, whereas the fast one that they're building down the tunnel will be a very fast line direct from London to Birmingham and not stopping here. In fact, I do remember one of the some of the local protesters around where I live, one of their reasons for protesting is that there's no benefit locally because it didn't stop here, which is an interesting way of protesting. But anyway, I think the whole idea of it was that it doesn't stop anywhere, and it's fast. Anyway, we're going to turn right in a minute, and as we ease over, just let the motorbike through. I was just about to pull out, and suddenly he came roaring down the road. So here we go. Very shortly, the climb is going to start. So keep your eyes open. It's flat to begin with. Very nice houses down here, as you'll see. I mean, these places look lovely on summer's day. They're probably quite nice in the winter, but there's something about a summer's day that does make a nicely mowed lawn and a nicely trimmed hedge and a smart house look rather nice. Still flat here, so after that right-hand turn, you're not going to go straight up. I suspect there might be half a percent gradient here. I don't know, but I think just ahead you can see that it starts to inch up. So I think we're just beginning to get the start of the incline now. Again, you won't really notice straight away, and so the lower bit of this was a lot easier than the higher bit. But like I say, we never put in really steep, challenging hills. Our races are deliberately designed to have hills that might break the peloton but won't break your back. Right, this is where it starts to really properly go up after the railway bridge, and there's a guy who's he must have gone up because all the roads are closed further up, and the one that isn't, you really wouldn't want to cycle down. So we're going up the climb now. You can see it never gets above 4%, so as I say, that's enough to force you to put a bit of effort in an RGT race, but it's not going to get you grimacing and screaming and squealing in pain. Well, you might be at that speed, but it's more about maintaining speed than it will be grinding up a very steep gradient. You can see it's much more than a ramp, and it goes on for a little while past this building on the left. We've still got a bit to go. We'll eventually sort of level out and go through some nice sunny fields, and then the next obstacle, as I've said before, is going to be that left-hand turn. And I'm not the best person to advise how you position yourself for these tight turns in a peloton, but I gather there are ways and means of doing this, as the more accomplished sprinters seem to allude. And so I don't know if that's a Facebook discussion group topic, but I'm afraid I can't offer a lot. Now we're beginning to see the end of the climb here. As you can see, just as we get around this bend, the road will start to level out and go out into the fields and the sunshine, and that is you can see the bike's slightly speeding up now because the gradient's gone away. We're pretty much flat now, and we're just, as I say, coming up to that bit where we go out into the open fields, and we will be racing. You should be racing by now, actually. I think it's perhaps flatter than I gave it credit for at this top section. And I think just past these guys here who very kindly stand aside to clap the peloton of one through. You can see some gates ahead, I think, and that's where actually it's not gates, sorry. I thought there was a gate there, I beg your pardon. The little signs. So this is it. This is where we're out in the fields. Right, we're into the sprint now. I mean, obviously the RGT scenery is not going to sort of give you that marker with the trees disappearing and just out into the hedged fields, but it is probably a longer sprint than I gave it credit for earlier. But this is the bit where you really ought to be sort of getting your position up, because assuming that it's important to get around that bend first, or in a good position. The bend is coming out our left any moment now. And to say, it'd be interesting to see how many people lose position on that. And remember, I mean, you will, as you pedal around a bend, I mean, you might be wasting power, but you're only sort of 400 meters from the end. And in some ways, the power you come out with of that bend is going to be important. So personally, I would probably pedal all the way through it, even if I am wasting energy, just to get that acceleration on the other side of it as I come out. Right, so it's sprint time. Here's the left-hand turn as we go around, as I say, about 400 metres to the end. I'll get all the speed bumps along here taken out for you before the race, so it'll be a lot smoother than it was for me. As we go around the back of the aircraft carriers, it's dead straight all the way to the finish. That bend may be critical, but once you're around it, there's nothing tricky other than just beating your opponents, really. Again, a few more of these aircraft hangars to go past. This video is going to go past the finish line. I'll give you a rough idea where the finishing line is in a moment, but as you can see, still dead straight as we go past the back of the aircraft hangars and works and maintenance depots or whatever they've got there. And the finish is just about now, so this is where the finish is. Now I carried on riding. You can see I'll slow down there because my initial thought when I was filming it was, well, that's it, that's through the finish. I just stopped riding and then thought, oh no, I'll go to the cafe, because I did tell you there was a little cafe, and here it is at the end. So we go through, and it's the crew room cafe, as you can see from the sign. Just go along here. As I say, a few cyclists use this, and you can see some little cycle park things there, although I don't know that I would leave my bike there. I'd probably bring it around here to the front of the cafe. And there's the cafe owner, just unlocking it because we're bit early in the morning. There's an aircraft spotter enthusiast taking photographs of lots of aeroplanes that I have to admit all look the same to me, but I'm sure they're not. But there's certainly, they look quite good all set out there, don't they? Anyway, we'll see you on the line. Bye.